Hey guys, Coach A here. It is Monday, October 12th, and this is At Home Fitness with myself, Coach A. Welcome to day number 211 of the At Home Fitness programming series. We're going to get this week started with we got fourth week here, I believe, of our new cycle of strength work, and that is going to be the bird dog row, preferably with a dumbbell. So, as we've talked about before, I want you guys to continue making progress on this. A couple of the different ways we can make progress. We can increase the rounds if we haven't performed 5 of them. We can increase the reps on each side with those bird dog rows if we haven't yet, or anywhere up to 12. And we can also increase the weight on that bird dog. Technically, you guys can increase the quality of the movement too, especially specifically if we're talking about being able to hold ourselves in a nice solid balanced position. That is something that is considered improvement in this movement. Now, keep in mind something I don't want you guys to mess with unless it becomes making that rest higher, closer to 45 seconds, is cutting down on the rest and treating that like it's an improvement. That I want to be able to keep in the same scenario and keep that consistent all the way through. Now, if you guys are going to increase the weight and that really takes a lot out of you and the quality of the movement is starting to deteriorate, then yes, let's increase this rest from something that's like 38 seconds to 45 seconds after each side, okay? All right, now, last piece of what we have today is going to be a 16-minute AMRAP. You guys can think of this sort of as a shorter version of the benchmark workout Nicole. We're going to do a 400-meter run, and we're going to follow that immediately by a max effort set of pull-ups. Now, these pull-ups need to be unbroken. So you guys get one set to perform as many as you can. You can rest going into it a little bit. You can rest coming out of it before you take off on that run again. However you want to go about it. But you have 16 minutes to accumulate as many max effort sets and as large of max effort sets as you can. The final score is going to be the total number of pull-ups. These can be kipping, they can be strict. When you get up on that bar, you have however long it takes before you come down to accumulate reps. Now keep in mind what I just said there. If you're still on the bar, that is still the same set. It doesn't have to stay in sequence. As long as you're holding onto the bar and your feet are off the ground, that's considered a set for this workout. Stick around, I will demonstrate what I'm talking about here and go over possible modifications. All right, today is going to be the last day of our regular bird dog row work. Remember, we're continuing the progression that we've talked about the last couple weeks. The first order of business here is to establish our anti-movement frame and base with the hand, knee, core, and glutes, and then to control those rows all the way down and all the way back up. Remember, the more you drop, the more off balance you become. Hey guys, so we are looking at a modified version of Nicole today, 16 minutes on the AMRAP as opposed to 24, I believe. So we're going to start with that run, 400 meters each time. This isn't going to be involved in the scoring. The pace is entirely up to you guys. Remember, the goal of this is how many total pull-ups can we do only doing one max effort set at a time. So I'm going to find myself here on the pull-up bar. We can do this in a strict manner, as you see here, or we can do it with a kip. Not a lot of room on the wall there, so it's going to be kind of a short and abbreviated kip here. But the idea is, how do I set myself up to accumulate the most pull-ups in 16 minutes with those forced runs? Stay tuned for movement modifications. Through our modifications here, the first one I want to talk about is going to be this bird dog row. So obviously you guys can use plates, you can use kettlebells, pretty much anything as a weight, a backpack, a weight vest instead of a dumbbell. You can even, if you really want to, try and hold an empty barbell and control it that way. Obviously there's going to be a lot more challenge for the forearms and the grip there in terms of being able to stabilize and control that. One of the other sneaky little things you can do on this is use a band. Now, you're probably going to need a bench snatch or something similar that you can strap the band under if we're going to try and utilize this. So maybe it ends up being something we hook the band under one of the feet, and then we can go into our bird dog rowing position with the band that way. Depending on the setup of your band, you can always strap it around and maybe hook it on the wrist of the hand that's down on that bench. But there are some options there for doing that. One of the other things we can do, it's not going to be exactly the same, but it's going to be very similar and get a very similar effect. One of my favorite things, instead of our plank rows, is taking the band, hooking it onto something. I'm going to show you on the bench here so you guys can actually see the position. I'm going to get myself into that side plank, and I'm going to row while holding that side plank. Okay. And then finally, one of the last skills I would say for this would be that plank position dumbbell row. In which case, since we're going for sets, since we're going for reps, let's just keep it on the one side, finish them all before we're switching sides there. Now, let's get this bench out of the way. All right, so for the dumbbell snatches, kettlebells, obviously not a big deal. We're just switching them out. It's going to be a quick and intense AMRAP slash Metcon, so it doesn't make that much of a difference. We're going to be pushing either way. If we need to make a transition and go to our barbell, I want you guys to keep this super light, especially if we're going to take that bar down to the ground and muscle snatch, or down to the ground and power snatch. Otherwise, let's stay with the hang position and work our way through from there. Remember to keep in mind, you guys can always adapt something like that with a band if you are comfortable driving the hips and punching up overhead, or maybe doing our good mornings and then our behind the head press, doubling up the reps to try and get the even number there. On that second one, the tuck crunch, I would say the easiest modification here is just to go straight to a sit-up or an AMRAP sit-up. That's going to keep it simplistic enough that you guys are going to be able to keep pushing without having a high comprehension for the movement. Third piece, double unders. I would again keep this as simple as possible. So we're either going to go with single unders on the jump rope or jumping jacks that I'm working through from there, mostly because I want to see those arms moving. I want to see you guys using your shoulders at least a little bit to create some of the fatigue there to go back into those snatches on the turn. All right, guys, really easy on the modification front today for the workout. We have a 400-meter run. We're going to call that across the board. A 500, 400-meter row, guys, girls, a 40 or 28 calorie bike, Airdyne specifically, guys, girls, and then an 800-meter Concept 2 bike. So that's the bike that doesn't have the arms on it, so to speak. For the max effort set of pull-ups, if we don't have that pull-up bar, then we're just going to use whatever we've been modifying instead of pull-ups, right? So it can be the TRX straps, it can be the rings hanging up there where I'm laying back and I'm doing those rows, in which case the important fact here is unbroken. What does unbroken mean? Unbroken means that even, let me see if I can pop myself into a single leg. Good morning here. Unbroken means I'm staying in the row. I'm not pulling myself up and standing up, all right? Once the weight is off the grip, once the weight is off the shoulders and the back muscles and the core muscles for the stabilization, obviously in that position, then we have broken that set. Bam, off into your run, your row, your bike, whatever it is, okay? Can we put double unders, jump rope, or something along those lines in today? Maybe lunge steps if you want to instead of the run. Yes, that would be fine, but the very important part here is that once you finish the pulling work, you need to be into the cardio movement, and you need to be trying to complete that. Even if it's at a low intensity, there shouldn't be any relief from that, right? So if you want to come in here and take a couple breaths before you hop up on the pull-up bar, hop on your rows, whatever it is, that's fine. But I want you guys back out that door and into the cardio piece. So if the breathing is a little out of control, if the lungs are on fire after the pulling movements, then that's something you need to be able to process while you're doing whatever those other movements are going to be instead of the